While you're waiting for the hot water tank to drain, you can start filling the traps in the toilet with antifreeze. I usually use RV and marine antifreeze, but in a pinch you can even use automotive antifreeze. However, this is cheaper and works just as good. Automotive antifreeze is also toxic, but since it's going into drains, it really doesn't matter. Remember, all your valves are open. Everything is off. The hot water tank is off. The heat is off. Now you put your antifreeze in the traps. Every drain has a trap. That's a U-shaped point in the pipe, in the drain pipe where water is. If that freezes, this pipe will burst. This needs to be filled with antifreeze at each location of a drain in the house, including the toilet. Simply pour the antifreeze down the drains. Appropriate amount. When you figure the trap is full, you don't need to put any more than that. I usually hit both sides, although it's all one trap. I usually use 2 gallons. It's usually enough. Go around the house. If you have any left, go around again. Remember, there's even a trap in the tub, and it's a big one. Very important part is the toilet. Make sure you drain all the water out of the tank as much as possible by holding it open. Now you bail as much water as you can out of the bowl. You should have done it before you put the antifreeze in there, but since I forgot to do that, you could actually pour it down the sink. But instead, I'm going to use a bucket. Get as much water out as you can of both the bowl and the tank. It might be gross, but it has to be done. I even bail out the tank. There's not much in here, but as much water as you can get out, the less antifreeze you need. Now, you pour antifreeze in the tank, a good amount, making sure you get it all spread out. Now it's going to start filling up because the flapper's closed. So what you do is you continually open the flapper, letting it drain down, and you'll notice it runs down into the bowl. You do this a couple times with that last gallon of antifreeze, then you pour some in the bowl. Very important. Otherwise this bowl will just blow up when it freezes. The hot water tank is drained. You close this valve. You close this valve. You disconnect your hose, put it back where you found it, and you're done with this. There's still water coming out, but don't close this valve right away. Keep it open until all the water runs into the pan. Once it stops running in, then you can close it. There's one more step. If you noticed, I had some extra fiberglass insulation downstairs under the house. That's where I'm going to wrap the rest of that pipe up as best I can. using insulation and duct tape, trying to keep it as much protected from the cold as possible. For many years I didn't do this, but I figure since one year I went to turn the water on and it was frozen, I was lucky the pipes didn't burst. So ever since I've been wrapping it, it seems to have been alright. Wrap it up with fiberglass as much as you can. The more the merrier. And this keeps that bottom 1.5 foot section of pipe protected. It still has water in it. Anything below the valve has water in it. So it needs to be protected from the cold. Once you get this done, you're almost done. There's the finished product. It's all wrapped up as best I can get it. I even threw some over the top. If you ever need more insulation, I got extra stuff in a black bag right here, but try to reuse it as much as possible. That way you have it for next year. And then double check, make sure all the pipes are drained. Shut the light off, climb out, and close it up. This thing continued to drip for about at least 20 minutes. So I think it's finally stopped dripping. I got a little water left in here. Once that's done, take this and close the valve. The valve is closed. Close the other valve, and you're done with this hot water tank. Turn this valve clockwise to close it. This is the gas. Shut the gas off for the winter. Not too tight, but let's see. Well, now just make sure all the windows are closed. You don't have to close the shades all the way. You want some light to get in here, so at least it's warms up in here when it has a chance. I usually unplug this old technology. I don't trust it. So, and it gets moist in the winter. So I just unplug the whole lot of it right from the wall. That way I don't have any worries. I also unplug the fridge, and I unplug the microwave. That way I don't have to worry about that either. Probably want to also turn the answering machine off.
Answering machine off.
Otherwise you'll end up with a bunch of solicitors on there when you come back in the spring. Well, make sure you take your garbage, any freezables, all food out of the cabinets that you can't leave over the winter. I usually leave the fridge open, propped with the chair. That way it doesn't get moldy inside. I also make sure the other fridge is also open. It's propped open with a rag. Well, that pretty much concludes the video. Next year, in the spring, I'll make one how to open up the house. One last note, you have to make sure this door closes and latches. Otherwise, the wind will whip it and it'll break. Lots of times I come up here, I find this door still open. So you got to make sure it's latched. It's not locked, but just latched so it doesn't swing in the wind. I also tied up my gate so it won't swing in the wind. That's it. See you next year.